Some reason time sped up. It's you know how countdown 3, 2, 1. It went 3, 2, 1. But hey, everybody, welcome to Late Late Horror Show here. Paranormal tonight. We are going to talk some Ghost to Ghost 1999, right, Dave?
We are all the way from the high desert. This is Ghost to Ghost.
Yes, it is.
Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
Hey, did you hear the ghost mid intro there, Dave? There are some voices in the background. Did you hear that?
No, it was kind of scary.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Late Late Show again. It's been a while. Oh, my God. It feels like I haven't been on here in a long time. Had stuff going on. Me and Dave pushed this till today. But we're going to talk about some ghost stories. This episode, Ghost to Ghost 1999, Remembering Art Bell, has some really good ghost stories in it. So I can't wait to talk about. I've got 3 highlighted that I'm probably going to talk about first. I think we should hit right off with what are our best ones, I think.
All right.
For a change. I mean, you know.
Okay.
And Ed Stathis, there you go, buddy. Thank you for that painting that he gave me up there. That's it right there, if you can see it. I mean, if I make myself larger, can you see it? Let's see. It's, well, and then I got a closed chat. It is right there. It's pretty cool. It's like this mermaid-looking woman's very... I like it. I like it. But anyways, let me shrink again. But how have you been doing, Dave?
Nice to know I can be replaced by a picture.
Most certainly. Yeah.
It looks beautiful. Wonderful, Ed. And I saw Ed is doing giveaways. What's going on there?
Ed's doing a giveaway.
He says, and there will be giveaways. Woot.
Oh, really? We giving something away? Evan Williams Distillery is coming to present our founder with an award. And oh, okay, very cool, Ed, Mr. Artist. So there you go. But yes, Dave, what do you got to say? Ghost to Ghost, 1999. It's been a while since we've done an Art Bell. What do you want to say?
It actually made me happy.
Did it?
You know, doing this because it's been a long time since we did, as you mentioned, a Ghost to Ghost. This is Ghost to Ghost 1999, which literally puts us 60 days away from the year 2000.
The year 2000. And let me say hello real quick to everybody.
I was just going to say, say hello to everyone in the chat.
Yes, you want to do that? Hey, Sweet Indigo, what's going on? Edward Stewart, Connie Clary, Ed Stathis, Kimby, what's going on? Good to see you. Our good friend Edward Stewart, I just said. Yeah, I mean, it almost takes a half hour for me to read all the names in the chat. But hello, all you loved ones. Thank you for being here.
And all those in the future that are going to be watching this.
Exactly. Yes, definitely good. Please leave a comment. All that good stuff. Check out Dave's link in the chat description box down below. Yes. Soon I'll be back on Discord. Okay, Edward Stewart. Okay, go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say we got a nice shout out last weekend from the Cabot Cove Confab, Sean and Steve. Okay. And they had mentioned our work with, they had mentioned Kolchak and how we're going through the series.
Very cool.
That was kind of nice. I think Steve had just picked up the, I want to say, is it Blu-ray? Is that the thing now?
There's a Blu-ray set, yeah.
All right. So he picks up the Blu-ray, and I emailed him immediately, don't watch Mr. Ring. But, unfortunately, I was too late.
Oh, no. Well, listen, we had to get through it too, right? We're Kolchak fans, so we saw it, we move on. So, yeah, and what do we got coming up tonight? We got a mixed bag overnight tonight. Those won't be happening forever. I think the next couple days, and then the weekend is when I'm kicking off the Lego channel, Dino Brickhaven. So I will be letting everybody know about that. But it's just time to, I'm not saying move on, because I'll still do old time radio stuff on here, but it just won't be every day. I know I said this before, but officially things have been fixed up and in place to kick off Dino Brickhaven, the Lego channel. So it will be happening. And the coming weeks, our next show, Dave, Colombo, any old port in the storm.
It's a great episode.
Can't wait. We also got the 3rd episode of the Wild Wild West, the night the wizard shook the world. And then we got Kolchak. No, you're right. Go ahead.
We have a guest.
Yes, I've got to change this, don't I?
You do.
I still got it at June 2nd.
June 2nd, we do have a guest coming in. For right now, I'd like to keep it a surprise, but I'm very excited to talk to this person who is an expert on Dan Curtis.
Yes, I can't wait. I just changed it as we were sitting here. How do you like that? That's
and then the week after we'll do Kolchak again. So
yes, we'll get a couple good Kolchaks right in there is what we'll do. Still working on some upcoming trivia for you, Dino. Thank you, Edward Stewart. That'll be cool. Overkill with an O. What is going on? Okay, let's get to talking about Ghost to Ghost 1999. I don't know if we should recap Art Bell again, Dave, or what. I mean, people should know who Art Bell is.
Generally speaking, yes. But if they're doing a search for ghost stories and they come across our wonderful video, and we already know it's going to be wonderful because all our Ghost to Ghosts are. Every year, Art Bell would close down the lines and just do ghost stories. And he would have you prepare by turning the lights out, lighting candles, and it is such a wonderful, almost like Christmas. It's something you look forward to. And, I would always move like everything aside just to listen to Ghost, unencumbered, and, no one would bother me. And I loved it.
And I know how you, yes, and he's a late night paranormal talk show host that has passed on now, but he's just the master, and you'll never forget him once you listen. And I think the comfort thing for me with Art Bell, of course, the topics, but even to this day, when I listen to him, it's in bed with all the lights out, with either the Bluetooth, and Art Bell as I'm going to sleep. So that's how I listen to him. I'm sure there's people out there staying up late in a chair with TV on, maybe something like that. But it was always complete darkness, me just laying there going to sleep. And of course, he kept me up for hours. So there you go.
You see, for me, I was always up. I was never a person who would listen to Art Bell in bed.
Okay.
Unless I was really like going to sleep. And I pass out pretty quickly.
Okay.
But I would be like at my desk, at a computer, working on things or cleaning or sorting. I always was doing busy work while Art Bell was on. And so I loved having that as a background to whatever I was doing.
Exactly. Hey, CM, what is going on? And 75 YBA, Wild Wild West, is free on YouTube. Thanks for letting us know that. Yeah, a lot of things are on YouTube.
And Connie, you're going to poop your pants, Connie, when you know who it is.
Okay, cool.
She says, hot damn.
Yes, Dan Curtis. Hey, and for people who don't, when I do start this Lego channel upcoming this weekend, parts of it, there'll be reviews of Lego sets, toys. So it's not exclusive Lego, but Lego City, how it's coming along, building. And there's a secret thing that I don't see anybody doing in Lego channels in the Lego world that I'm going to be incorporating into the videos. But there will also be 4 or 5 hour stretches where I'm just sitting here putting together Legos. Whether you're into ASMR and you just like to listen to the clicking of all the stuff going together, and I hold it up and go, it's not like I'm not going to be talking to, but there'll be silence, some talking, me putting it together, showing you guys as I'm going along. I will be doing plenty of that. So stay tuned. Dino Brickhaven is the name of the channel.
Is that 3 words or 2?
2 words. Dino Brickhaven is 1 word. But I'm going to do a whole video on here, letting people know and putting the channel up just so people who want to come over can come over. Again, just to state, and we'll get on to the ghost to ghost. My channel has 5 years of all kinds of old time radio content. And you got Dino's Duck Soup, which I'm slowly putting some of the comedy tons of that stuff up there slowly. But the focus, other than me and Dave on the weekend and me doing this other stuff, yeah, it's going to be fun, Dave. It's going to be fun.
I can't wait to watch. And I want to bring up something Overkill mentioned in the chat a little while ago. He said, I never got a chance to listen to him live, but archived YouTube shows is what got me interested. I think there's a whole new upcoming generation that is only going to know Art Bell from YouTube or from podcasts. And that is a very different way than like Dino and I would listen to it. I mean, granted, we love listening to him on YouTube. Yeah. However, imagine staying up all night long and having the same guy online, just talking. I mean, he would go 5-6 hours overnight.
And the fun thing is you would never know, like when he comes back from commercial, he would go out on the porch to do something, drink coffee, sometimes hurt himself, or something would I mean, there was always something going on. So you're on top of hearing the good paranormal stories, you also got to be part of Art Bell's life. You know what I mean?
Very much.
It was just fantastic. And I know everybody is talking about Lego channels and stuff like that too, and all that. Edward Stewart says Dino, Doug Bradley, but it's a shame that the Doug Bradley video, I don't even think it hit 2,000 views. I mean, I don't know where it's at, but I mean, it was such a fantastic interview. I'm just saying. But anyways, it was a blast. The 75 YBA. Okay, so let's get to this. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, you said you had several that you wanted to highlight, so I'm going to throw the first one to you because I will then go to my favorite.
Okay, so I will go to one of my favorites because it just was interesting the way the guy was talking about it. Joe from Louisiana called into Art Bell. And they always gave their name, where they're calling from, which was always cool. But he lived in his mother's house, built in 1974. So it wasn't like it was an old house. But 1974, he had an imaginary friend named Sam. Okay, and he was very, very young. And Sam was in all black clothes, like myself, so I could be Sam, I guess. But and very long black hair, and he would tell his mom about that and everything like that. And Sam, this is the wait, hold on. A couple years later, Sam walked through the house in front of the family. Okay, yeah. Is this the one with the bones? This isn't that one.
No.
Okay, that's another good one. Okay, I'm getting confused. But I like this one because he gives it a name, Sam. Okay, he's all in black, and he's basically this kid's imaginary friend,
I did have on my notes on that, which I just found, I put, quote, Dino hat and outfit.
Oh, all black, yeah. But yeah, no, this happened. I think it was still going on. People just think it's an imaginary kid until the whole family ended up seeing this guy walk through several times the living room, just like straight through, just walked on through. And everybody in the family saw it. He goes about 8 times, and his sister, I guess, also had an experience where she saw a Native American woman in the house. And he got to saying, after thinking about things and stuff, they're like, it's probably our guardian angel or somebody looking after us, something like that, which I thought just was a really good story.
Well, also, I think the sister ended up going into the army or some other service.
Yes.
And the Native American woman followed him.
Yep,
so it wasn't something that was attached to the ground or
Right.
the house or materials. It was attached to her.
Which tends to be a guardian angel or a spirit that is just watching you and making sure you're looked after or whatever. I don't know how that goes. You know what I mean? Really, but hello, Ahava. Becca Too Tall.
It was nice to see Becca come in after her absence.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Hopefully, you've been doing good. Good to see you. But yeah, that's not my best, but that's one of the top 3 that I got marked down. So
I would have put that as one of my top 3 as well.
Okay.
I loved how he started off the conversation, and he started talking about wanting to go and stay at the Myrtles plantation.
Yes, because he's in Louisiana, and Louisiana's very, very haunted. And Myrtle's plantation. Yes.
And I remember ghost hunters going there.
Yep.
And I also had a note down that Sam kind of reminded me of a general shadow person.
Yeah. Well, there's several ghost stories in this episode where they talk about the actual figure being somewhat solid, but you couldn't really make out features a whole lot, but you could tell it was there. And they mentioned about like a light glow from the back, like something was, you could see the back like glowing, but the rest was dark, shadowy. I thought that was interesting how they said that. So, but yeah, no, that's my first one.
All right. Well, my first one is one you kind of already just barely touched on.
Oh, you're going to talk about that?
I want to talk about Irving.
Okay, let's talk about Irving. Yeah, this is my favorite.
Okay.
Followed closely by another one, which I'll talk to after you talk about this. But you go ahead and talk about that, and I'll chime in too.
So there is this. Oops, sorry. There is this
hey, Brian.
kid, and he has an imaginary friend, and he calls him Irving, and for some reason, I think the kid knew what he was getting for Christmas because it was up in the attic. He didn't have any access to the attic because he had to literally pull down a ladder and stuff like that. So they know he didn't go up there.
Yeah.
And they're like, how did you know about this present? Well, Irving takes me through the roof. And that creeped me out. I mean, that's like scary stuff right there. And then Irving takes this kid to where Irving lives, which is a box of bones.
Yes. And that's where it got me. I'm like, okay, I get everything up to the point where he's actually taking the spirit of the child, the soul of the child, or the essence, something. He's taking the child with him.
Yeah.
So she says on the phone, this is the mother speaking, I think it is, or is it the kid? Is it?
No, it's the mom.
It is mom. It is the mom.
Mom's telling the story.
Yeah, she says he said we floated through the ceiling. So can you imagine? And the cemetery where the bones are, which he talks about a little bit later, is down the street, somewhere else. So imagine the spirit taking a 3-year-old boy, floating him around, taking him into. And this is what.
Yeah, I mean, and this is why I think Irving was a good spirit.
Yeah.
But what happens if the spirit goes, I'm not going to take you back to your house?
Oh, God.
And it just started getting me. That's what gets me scared.
Well, it could be stuff that happens. You know what I mean? This is what kind of enticed me with this story. And got me questioning things because taking the child's spirit or soul or whatever you want to call it and walking around, that means there's a vacant vessel there. That child's in bed, and they talk about this a lot. A lot of people talk about just, another spirit, an evil spirit being able to jump into that body, take it over. If you leave it vacant for too long or something similar along those lines, that it can be taken over. So again, you say taking a spirit. If this was an evil spirit tricking him in to going with him, just like a stranger would in real life, right?
Mhm.
What to say that child's spirit is lost forever or wandering, it is scary. And the thought of him taking him to where his bones are, my first thought was, did he take him down into the casket in the ground?
That is exactly what I thought.
But
And then, is there enough
I
room
think
for
again,
people, or is
maybe
he sitting up?
well, I'm thinking afterwards though, Dave, I'm like, I think maybe he took them and they were above the grave, of
Okay,
that Irving.
I would
I
feel
mean,
better.
yeah, I mean, I would think so, because think about it. Let's float down into the dirt, the ground, where it's probably caved in a little bit. I don't know. Freaked me out. Was a little scary, but everything else attached along with that is also very scary. The fact that you can entice a kid as a ghost, you know, to come with you is a scary thought, and it could explain a lot of the ghost stories that you get. Like, why are there so many kid ghosts? Why do people linger around? Why do some children linger around? You could throw up a million different questions, but yeah, no, good one.
So the mom and the kid goes to has to cut through the graveyard to go to some Memorial Day parade.
Yes,
And they come across, as the kid says, this is where Irving lives.
yeah,
Funniest thing. And it's Irving Riggs is the name on the tombstone.
yeah.
And later on, the mom, is working with this lady with the last name of Riggs. And she's all, yeah, I did have a grandfather, Irving. And
A
he's
great
buried
great grandfather.
Yeah, he's buried in the cemetery. And when the friend now is cleaning out the house, uh, a photograph falls out of a book. It's Irving. She gives it to the mom, and the mom tacks it up on the bulletin board right by the phone,
Yeah.
which is a horrible trick. I think I would hate to come home and see my imaginary friend tacked to that cork mat.
Because at this point, the child is now 15 years old, and she tacks it up there, like you said, and doesn't say a thing. Waits for him to come up. Go ahead, Dave.
He's going to call his girlfriend right after school,
Yeah.
and he stops
Good
short.
for him. Good for him.
He stops short and says, "Where did you get that picture?" And she's all, "Why? Why? Who is that?" He goes, "It's Irving." And so, like that, if
That would freak you out.
if that story is made up, they did a great job. They should be a writer, but it just was so perfectly well rounded, I thought.
Yeah, there are ghost stories that are told on a lot of these ghost to ghost where, a percentage of them you could tell that people are just goofing off or making them up just to be heard, but then there are some that even through the voice and the way they're telling the story, you can tell that there's some genuine facts behind what they're saying. And this story, I would believe what she's saying, but nothing's set in stone. But the percentages are high enough that I think I believe that story for sure. And you did mention Stop Short. There's a Seinfeld episode, Dave,
That's why I mentioned it.
where he's Kramer's in the car with Estelle Costanza, George's mother, taking her to the eye appointment. Okay. And oh, Kramer, you're so good to take me. And he hits a bump, or the car stops, and he stops short. And stop short means he goes like this, and he blocks her. So that means as she's coming forward, his arms across her chest to touch her breast. So from that point forward, George Costanza's dad gets pissed at Kramer because he stopped short. How dare you stop short with my wife? But he was trying to save her. Oh, Dave.
I used that on Estelle 50 years ago.
Yeah, that's how we got together. Oh, it was so
And then
funny.
Jerry's all, "Stop short. That's a great move. I know it's a great move."
You got to use that move. Anyway,
that the Silly Jerry one where he falls on the Fusilli Jerry?
yes, it is. You gotta love that Kramer made macaroni figures of everybody. George was ravioli.
Yes.
But anyways, let's get back to the stories.
All right, you can throw one out.
Okay. This one isn't magnificent. I mean, it is magnificent, but it's the way.
Another Seinfeld episode we should go into. Never mind. And they're magnificent.
There was a way that this guy told this story that fascinated me. And then the story itself, in its conclusion, is spooky as hell. And if true, which I believe it's probably, I mean, I don't believe the guy was lying. It's just made for a really good story. So the man calls up. He works for a news station, a studio news station. You know which one I'm talking about. So he's getting ready to go on some vacation, and he ends up going to the news station like early in the morning. We're
3
talking
o'clock in the morning.
3 o'clock in the morning, and he's supposed to meet up his girlfriend, whatever. And so he's in the studio and packing things up and taking notes that he's got in the studio or whatever. And he hears some noise. He hears some noise in the background, and he walks down one of the long halls and goes into the like a room where they get together to talk, or some counseling room or something like that. And he sees a woman there, just a woman there, stands and looks at her, and
where a woman shouldn't be.
Where a woman shouldn't be. And she turns around and looks at him. Then she turns around and just starts walking back to the studio.
But then he follows her. To me, I'm headed out the other way. I'm like, you're a ghost. I'm out of here.
Well, he even said, I would be out of there, but my curiosity, it just got I don't know. Listen, I don't know what I'd do in that situation either. I don't know, Dave. If I quickly got over that being scared, I think I would follow. I want to know what's going on, but I don't know.
I'd have to know what she was wearing. I'd have to know how pretty she was.
Well, I mean, we get to know a little bit about what happened there, but he follows her into the studio, and the lights are on, and the TV monitors kind of are on, and all of that. And again, it's the way, you agree, Dave? It's the way he was talking about it, that he had this voice of the way he was telling the story. It just sounded sounded like a story, a really good story.
Like it really happened.
Yes. And he goes, she look at him, or did she just turn around? I'm trying to remember. But
no, she sat down and looked at him. Okay,
yeah. So she took one of the seats, sat down, looked at him, and just vanished. But the part of the story that was I'm not. It's stupid to say cool, because there's the sad part to the story. The sad part to the story, which made it very interesting. There we go. Is he told somebody about this actor, and they said, "Oh, you don't know the story?" And they said back in the late '60s, a girl walked into the studio, and she committed suicide right there in the studio, which is very, very sad. And so now you got to think her spirit is wandering the studio. Seemed to have some intelligence there, because she turned and looked at him, walked in, looked at him again, and then vanished. So, but I thought that was just probably the best told story of the night. I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad you did. I did not like his voice.
Oh, jeez.
So I couldn't get into the story as much as you did. And he left out the most important part, which is, how did she commit suicide?
Well, go. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think Art Bell was rushing him at that time at the very end.
He may have been.
Yeah, but yeah, you would have liked to have known a little. Again, there were times where he had to cut people off because stories go on a little bit too long. But yeah, you're right. Some things can bother you because you don't know the full extent of the story. Overkill with an O. Thank you very much for the super chat, $4.99. The three, not the rules of Art Bell, not the basement, not the closet, and not the Ouija board. Yes, Overkill. You got that right.
I might even add one to that. No red eyes.
Oh yeah, four of them and no red eyes, which happened a couple times. The couple stories in here. Brian Kirkham, hello. Am I the only person who feels a little lost in this conversation? I don't know. What are you speaking of, Brian?
I think it was when we were doing our Seinfeld sidebar.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, listen. We got to always throw a Seinfeld in there. That's for sure.
And I will also mention, and I probably do this on all the Ghost to Ghosts, he has the best bumper music going in and going out of breaks.
Yeah.
And especially, I absolutely love, and for Halloween, for rainy days, Gordon Lightfoot.
Yes. Listen, I fell in love with a lot of these songs because of Art Bell. I mean, you know, the Highwayman. I mean, you're going to always associate that. Well, I do with Art Bell.
Absolutely.
I am the Highwayman. All the things. Barry Geekler at the Late Late Horror Show. My dad suggested your channel before he died. Glad I caught you live this time. Rest in peace. Cow fart. Oh no, Barry. So sad about your father. Cow fart was something else.
He was, and he lived by me. I think in Sierra Madre, if I'm not mistaken, Barry.
Okay. Listen, prayers to a cow fart. He was talking quite often. I'm about ready to go, and you know there were moments I'm like going, okay, well you got great spirit, or I don't know what's going on there, cow fart. But
and didn't he also send you a Area 51 or UFO story or something like that?
He did, and I did read it on an episode. And my God, I've done so many shows, Dave. I couldn't even tell you which one it would be on. A ghost story stream, something like that. But one of the Paranormal Into the Nights, he did. But very, yep, Sierra Madre. Thank you, bro. Very cool. I'll never forget you, cow fart. Every time he'd come in, I'd go cow fart. You know, I mean, there's so many characters, man. But yeah, Godspeed, cow fart. Okay, Dave, go with your next one.
All right.
And I hope you enjoy the channel, Barry, too. Lots of good stuff on here, I think.
I'm going to go to one that Art Bell read. It was by a guy named Tim from Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes, a Faxton, and this was a good one, yes. Go ahead.
So this took place in the summer of 1981, which ironically, Art Bell says 20 years ago. Now it's like 45 years ago.
Yeah.
Teenager sneaks out after he goes to bed out of his parents' house, and his friends pick him up, and they're going out to pick up girls. And I loved it because he wrote, if we picked them up, we wouldn't have known what to do with them if we had succeeded at that.
Yeah.
He got home at 3 a.m. and his friends kind of dumped him out in the middle of the street. And then he looks, and there's this guy between him and the house.
Yeah.
So it's just like, what am I going to do? And the guy had a trench coat, which that made me laugh because I immediately thought of something else. But it was a trench coat, stovepipe hat. He had an old bicycle. And I love Tim's response was, quote, "Can I help you?"
Well, because he's kind of like in the driveway between him and his house to get to his door. And I do like the way he described him as the stovetop hat, stovetop what pipe? What am I talking about? And the trench coat, almost like an Abraham Lincoln kind of look, and the bicycle. And he said again, this was one of the stories where he said, and there was the light that was behind him that kind of just made him this darkish figure, although he could make out facial features a little bit here, there, but yeah, go on, Dave. Very cool. Hello, Emily.
Okay. And so
go on, Dave. Hello, Emily.
Tim then decides to be friendly and approach him with putting his hand out to shake it. And then he would have done what I did and just sprinted by him.
I thought it was cool that, yes, he was waiting. He was sitting there, and I think he even tried to say, "Can I help you?" or something like that. And the guy, the figure wouldn't say nothing.
Right.
And that's when he started to dart towards him with his hand out, like you said, and then he just took off and beamed past him right through the door.
And the best part of the story was the neighbor the next day said, "What was that about early hours in the morning?" Yeah. And Tim also in his letter had written, my neighbor was known to do some drinking. But, he goes, he saw him too. And he said that the guy got on the bicycle, rode down the street, and as he was doing that, he vanished into thin air.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, intelligent. I mean, he stood there staring, and it's only when he ran into the house that he got on the bike, took off, and vanished. The only thing that I would say is, okay, good idea. Pretend to put your hand out, run past him, get in the house. But I most definitely would have immediately looked outside and continued to see what was going on, right? Maybe he didn't add it to the story after it vanished, you know what I mean? Because it quickly, after he went in, went away.
Or maybe, because I don't think he went in through the front door. I think he went in through a window in the backyard, which is how he got out of the house to begin with.
Yeah.
So I think I would just stay in my room.
Okay, there you go. But yeah, no, good story. I mean, really, really good one. I got another, boy, I've got two ones. There's a story here. I might as well hit that one first. Where there's a man who's from Cleveland, Ohio here. Okay. And I know the area and the house he's talking about without him even specifying it. Because there's one area that all these houses are at. There was a man that called in. I forget his name, but he says, "I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I live in we lived in a Victorian home." Okay, and I'm like 15 minutes away. Franklin Haunted Castle. Anybody could look it up. It's called Franklin Avenue. There were so many, to this day, you can look up Ohio City and Victorian homes down there. So many Victorian homes still there standing, and some of them need repaired and worked on, but there's still so many on this stretch of road. And it's the one area in Cleveland that these houses were built, and not many other areas. So I know exactly where he's talking about. And he started talking about them moving into this house, this Victorian house. And there was a house, he said, next door that stood empty, up on a hill just a little bit. And his sister looked up and saw this man drinking something, maybe a bottle or something like that. And then it just vanished. But I thought the way he described the house, something in the window and in there okay, so they moved in to this. There's a parlor, there's steps going up, 3 bedrooms, all that good stuff. And then there was a narrow stretch of stairs that went up to the attic. Your typical Victorian style home. Not too big. They made them here where they weren't too huge, but they were in the Victorian style. They had the little parlor rooms. The kitchens were huge. And he started hearing noises and stuff, mostly coming from the attic is where it happened. Makes you think of The Exorcist, of course. But And again, there's a story that's related to my grandparents again, because they lived on a house on the same stretch of road, Franklin Haunted Castle, and this house here, where they lived. The whole family lived there, and I talked about this before, where shadow people up on the walls, noises, residual stuff going on, freezing in the attic. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So I don't know if it's just the old homes. Franklin is a stretch of street that used to help the slaves get down to Lake Erie, which was only about 500 yards off down to the lake. So a lot of stuff went on there in that area. So I don't know whether that adds to it or not, but he heard a lot of noises in the attic and all that. And it sounded like they were dragging a trunk across the floor, you know, all the loud noises that you hear and you go, what the heck? And then you go up there and you don't hear nothing. But you remember the story, right, Dave? Yeah. Good story.
I've heard it in the past. This is not one I listened to for this.
Oh, okay. So okay. But he decided to, with his friend one night, to go up to the attic because they didn't go up to the attic. And I love the way he mentions how they went about this, because him and his friend, and they were probably in their 20s. They both, well, first they went to go get the light, and in these old homes, you have the long string light that goes up to the light bulb, and you pull it down. He says he pulled on it, and it just broke down. It wouldn't come on, nothing like that. He couldn't get the light to come on. So they both got flashlights. And they both started walking up the stairs slowly. And as soon as they got towards the top of the steps, and I guess off to the side, there was a stored fold-out bed, one of those fold-out beds that you just bring out, and it's got metal hinges and stuff on it. He said they both got to that section on the stairs, and both their flashlights went out at the same time. And at the same time, his belt hooked onto the mattress, and they both tumbled backwards like Laurel and Hardy, he said. He said it was the funniest scene ever. But nevertheless, they didn't go back up there, but I
wouldn't have either.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen. Well, the ending of the story is even kookier. I'm like, he goes up the next day, and he goes up there with the flashlight, and he doesn't really see nothing. And he says, wow, this actually looks like a pretty good place. I'm going to make this my bedroom. So being a young guy like he was, he set it all up and hooked it all up and, continued to hear the noises and stuff like that. But he made it his room, So that's kind of the story there. And the only thing that caught me was that I know exactly where this is at. And my grandparents lived in a house very close by, same types of things. And it also reminds me the string pulling from the ceiling light bulb, where that's the only way you could turn it on, by pulling that string. It reminds me of the other story that I told a while back, another house that my grandparents lived in, where me and my uncle would be sitting on the couch late at night, and we would always watch our movies late at night. We would stay up till like 2-3 in the morning. And in the background, it would always happen. We start hearing that clicking, like the strings going down. And of course, me and my uncle we would walk through there and open the door, and we see that it's the strings moving, and the light always stayed on. But you hear the clicks, you hear the moving. We go back, and we knew what was coming next was the footsteps. And it was the footsteps on the creaky wooden floors. And listen, I was scared in that house, Dave. It was at a period of my life when I was like 13, 14, 15. And it scared me, man. We would hear that, the footsteps. It would get me every freaking time. Anyways, there you go. That's my story. I went on way too long.
I'm still freaked out by your story of a person standing between you and the bathroom, I think.
Well, that was one where I took off down the steps so fast, Dave. I mean, there was nothing. I mean, yes, at the top of the steps when I was working on my homework in my bedroom, I felt something outside, looked looked out towards the bathroom that was down the hall, and all the lights were off, and you could see the silhouette of a giant man with long puffy hair, like a hippie from the 70s or something like that. Just all dark. It almost looked like a Bigfoot, but it had clothes. I could tell. I could see. I think did I mention overall something like that? But I just took off down the steps, man. I'm like, but I was sitting in my bedroom and I felt it. I felt it. And I went out there and it just stood there, Dave, staring at me. And that's it. I mean, oh my God. Anyways.
A couple people have joined us. William Cromer, welcome.
Hello,
it's good
William.
to see you.
Yeah.
And also MOR has entered the room.
Hello, MOR. How you doing? You want more?
I think I remember back when you were doing the Art Bell podcast, you actually had a video that you did of Franklin Castle.
Oh yeah. Again, yeah, a lot of those have been, as well as some of the shows have been archived and just put back, because a lot of those I started off on Spreaker and then I ended up bringing them to YouTube, and then I just changed the channel, and anyways, I brung most of them back over here. I didn't the Franklin Haunted Castle, but I should bring that back up. Although you can find all kinds of stuff on YouTube about the Franklin Haunted Castle.
Now, would you, because both of us live in a fairly modern home, would you, because this is my wish, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this in California, but to live in a home that was built in the late 1800s.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's what my goal is.
I mean, yeah, an old Victorian in this area would be great. I would love that. Would I like to go down south a bit and one of the old plantation, land with the big home plantation, with the big pillars in front? That kind of is a dream too. I would love that. With what are the big trees again down south that hang over? Gone with the Wind. Somebody help me. They'll say it in the chat. Thank you. Ahead of time.
like a weeping willow tree, or
no, I forget what the trees are called. You would see them in all the Civil War movies, and it's just they got the little almost like cotton ball type effect on top of the trees and how they grow and stuff. I don't know. Very interesting. Somebody will say it. I guarantee you somebody will say it in the chat. But move on to your next story, Dave.
All right. My next story is from the international line. I'm going to take you to Japan.
Oh,
because I found these stories fascinating. This one guy, and he had married a woman who lived in Japan, and that's why he was there. And it was amazing how much that Japanese people focused on their ancestors.
Yes.
And they talked about cleaning the bones. They talked about cleaning cemeteries. And it was just, it actually made me feel kind of good, because like for us, it's like, hey, if you're like 1 or 2 generations away, that's it. We don't know anyone else further back than that.
Right. And there's, you can go back to the Native Americans and stuff like that, and certain other cultures that actually really went, the death of a person, I mean, it was a whole thing, ceremony. I know we go through the wake and the funeral and all that today, but there were certain processes that they went through back then that to put their spirit off into the next world or the next realm or something like that. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Times have changed, but go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, and so he was just talking about this one particular area in town because it has such an old history for that island.
Yeah,
that they were going to pave it over, or they did pave it over, but they would go and do ceremonies there to help either release the spirits or to welcome them into this world. And it was really interesting. He said that, after someone dies at 7 days, we do a family prayer, and then 48 days and so on. And then after 50 years, the ancestor then becomes part of the spirit group. And it was just a very,
very cool and interesting way of doing things and
It's
stories.
very different culture-wise than what
Yeah.
we're used to here.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'd love when they were doing excavation there, they would dig up old armor and things like that.
And they were talking about a battle that actually happened on that field in the 1300, the year 1300 AD, something like that.
Sounded right, yes.
Samurai warriors got together and they all battled, and like Braveheart, a good portion of them all died. So you can just imagine the grief, pain, and energy that is on that battlefield. So yeah. I thought that was a very good story too. And Edward Stewart, I know you've been having some trouble. I'm not going to say much, but hopefully you're doing well, and always thinking of you. You know that. Hopefully things get better here very quickly. Anyways, healing to you, my friend. Yeah. Are we on to the next one?
Yeah, go ahead and choose the next one.
Okay, I thought
We're
this
almost at the top of the hour already.
It's the top of the hour, yes.
Time for our station identification.
Yeah, we'll go through it like Art Bell used to say when corporate took over. We'll go through about 20 minutes of ads, but then the rest of the show will be all show. Oh, it was terrible when that happened. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, anyways, my next one is from Kathy. A woman who called in, she said back in 1984, she bought a mobile home and moved it from one place to the other. They sold their old house. There's nothing they could do. They put it on a block, which they call it a block, in the mobile home community, where she sat it down. That's going to be their new home. And she said, and she moved in with her daughter. Her daughter was 11 years old. And she said the moment she walked in, things felt very creepy. It just, just that feeling you get. It's just like, just don't feel right, feel creepy. And she said she almost wanted to go right away and just get rid of it and say, we're not buying it. But it was already bought for. The old house was already sold. That's why you don't do that. But sometimes you can't help it. I don't know. But it just had that feeling. And even her daughter would not sleep in the bedroom. She said the bedroom would always be cold, and it was on the side that had the sun. You would think it would be the warmest place, but it was always freezing cold no matter what they did. Until one day, and she said the neighbors, they were very off-putting. They would give them like strange looks, like, what are you guys here for? Like, she just said very unwelcoming and very just put off. So everything was negative about this place, this block, this mobile home. And one day she was in the bedroom and down the little hall there. Yeah, they got a hall in a mobile home. It depends how big it is. I live in a box down by the river. No, but down by the river. But she saw this man standing at the end of the hallway. She said he was very, very tall. He looked like 7 foot tall, she said. I mean, that's a tall man. I don't know if
for 1984, I was thinking Richard Keel visited them.
Richard Keel, yeah. We're thinking Kolchak. Yeah, Richard Keel showed up, but she started seeing this tall man, and he would just sit there and look out the hall at her. That's it. Dave must be coughing or going to get a drink.
Hacking up a lung.
Oh boy. Oh no. I didn't even know that, Dave. He's sick. Anyways, so then she said all of a sudden a woman started showing up next to him. So she's got this super tall guy, this woman standing, looking down the hall at her. And all of a sudden she starts smelling like, she says, the cigarette smokes, like when you first light up a cigarette. And then she started smelling throughout the whole mobile home, like a alcohol, like some kind of rubbing alcohol or whatever, something along those lines. And she ended up finding out that the people on that spot, that couple, they committed suicide and they killed themselves. So there you go. Story makes sense, right? But yeah, that's whoo, man. I don't know why the neighbors would, like, yeah. But I guess because of where they probably maybe knew something would happen there. I don't know, but
My grandparents, they lived in a trailer in Arizona, in Phoenix.
yeah.
They also had a hallway actually in their trailer,
Good.
living room back to the bedroom and everything. And it was one of my favorite places, of course, to spend summers, not because of the heat, but with your grandparents, and the idea that they had a trailer park and a community pool and potluck every Sunday, and a bunch of old people that absolutely loved the grandkids coming to visit, and it was wonderful for us too. Some major company bought that site and made everyone move off of it. And then when they started digging to lay the foundation for the buildings that were going to be there, it was they found Indian artifacts. Yeah. And so they ended up having to quit, because it's Arizona, and they're very into, preservation for Native American tribes. That site today is still vacant, and it still pisses me off that forced my grandparents to move and to ruin such a wonderful place from my childhood. So
yeah, no, that kind of sucks. I forgot to say that Edward Stewart is a grandpa now. So Edward Stewart, congratulations on being a grandpa. Nothing better, right?
And I loved, I think he put it in the name, and it made me laugh a little bit because I know he was talking to Emily. Okay. But he said it's grandson's name is Brandon Lee Torres Emily.
Brandon Lee Torres. Okay, so Brandon Lee, is that just because of Bruce Lee's son, Brandon Lee, or did you just happen to have it come that way, Brandon Lee? I love that name because I like martial arts and Brand. You know what? Yeah, Edward, is that why that happened? Because listen, I know you were big into kung fu. Let me know. I think that might be the reason. Bingo. Anyways, oh, did you have another story, Dave?
Of course I do. I have a whole yellow pad full of stories here.
Okay, do another one while I look for the one I was going to talk about. I wrote down a lot, but
I did too. Some of them were kind of short but fun.
Oh yeah.
This one is from Sacramento, California. The grandparents, who was a cement mason, built a house, and he said it's room, and it's just like they would just build on to this house for fun.
Yeah.
The grandparents died, and then the kids, the grandson, ended up taking over the property and living there with his girlfriend. And things would happen like, as you kind of mentioned in a previous episode, that they would hear the lights turn on.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because this one particular story, it would be the light in the bathroom, and then they'd hear the toilet flush. And that just cracked me up.
Ghosts gotta poop too. Just saying, I don't know.
And then he started to smell the scent of the grandmother, the perfume that she would wear. And he would hear cement mixers in the backyard or in the shed. You would hear people shoveling the material into the cement mixer. And unfortunately, they ended up selling the property, and the grandfather was pissed. So
yeah, go ahead.
They would go into like the living room, and all the chairs would be upside down.
Yeah.
And that alone would say, hey, I'm not selling this property. And as they cleaned out the house, they also in the shed found some die-cast cars, and it was like they were dumping everything because the grandmother was a hoarder, but
Yeah.
these two cars were set aside and they were for the father. And the dad was like, gosh, I haven't seen these in 30 years. And,
Mhm.
it was kind of, it gave me pause because I think I would do the same. I would haunt a particular place that meant a lot to me. I don't necessarily, do I want to go on? Or am I still the caretaker of this property?
Well, yeah, I'm still I'm still with the thought of if I find out that I'm able to stick around for a while with all the limitations that I've had without going on and on here, limitations, if I could stick around, I think I might choose to stick around for quite a while. If time is irrelevant and things are the way I've heard and I think and I might stick around for a while, Dave.
Well, we'll keep doing this after we pass away.
Can you imagine?
But I know that, I mean, you
If
would
it's
love,
possible, yeah.
obviously, to see your kids, and
Yeah.
such. I love the ghost stories where, hey, my aunt died at the same time that I was in my, studying for my law exam, and I smelled that talcum powder perfume, whatever, that she would normally wear. And it's just like you're able still to see people one last time, it seems like.
Yeah.
But I would want to stick around as well. I mean, I've got, I want to make sure my yard's being taken care of. Um, and just, I would want to visit places that meant a lot to me as I grew up.
Yeah, so you're gonna haunt the people who ruin your
Damn
landscape.
straight I am. Cut
Right?
down my tree, bastard. I'll show you something.
What's the name of your one rose bush? I remember you.
I have 65
I
roses.
know, but you name them. There's certain names you give. That's why you got to go join Dave's channel.
I got Lynn Anderson. I got Perfect Moment. I've got Oklahoma. Tournament of Roses. What color?
Yeah.
Give me a color. I'll give you a name.
Okay, yeah, no, go to Dave's channel. Check it out. It's in the description below. But
I'm at Dave Pluff on YouTube.
it's also hello, Michael. How you doing? Good to see you. It's another thing that's given me pause lately. I don't know why it takes so long sometimes to figure some things out, or then you interpret things certain ways. But yeah, I mean, again, it makes you wonder, like people who haunt houses, maybe they really just want to stick around there for a while, and there's no need pushing them out. Like a lot of these investigations, they find out. I mean, most of the time, they're not doing any harm.
Right.
But it's the fact on us in our psyche that's scary, that's spooky, that's scary, freaking me out. Where it's just, man, sticking around a while, I don't know.
Well, this one particular house I would love to live in is about a block away from me, and built in the late 1800s. The family who owned it the longest, who I got to meet,
Yeah.
they have owned it since 1953.
Nice.
And they sold it in 2010, and it's had a couple owners since. But I would love for the old lady whose husband bought it for her in 1953
Yeah.
to haunt it. I would be totally okay with her living with me in her room, and I would not bother her. And I think it would be great. But again, we're kind of so short-sighted thinking that, that house has been around for another 70 years. What other families owned it and stuff? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, yeah. People in the chat tell me, would you stick around for a while? I mean, come on. If you knew, when you're ready, you can go on and move on, make your decision on what you want to do. Whether it's reincarnation, whether it's just, man, I better be given the choice to maybe possibly go to a whole different solar system. Give me 6 legs, but I'm smart as a whip and I'm flying through the air. I mean, come on, Dave.
I think after you're dead, you are able to fly, and I would just be busy enough here on planet Earth. Thank you very much.
Or if time is irrelevant and time and space and all that other, could I possibly go to a planet that has similar, like the decade of the 1920s or the 1930s, or can we technically go back in time because time is irrelevant, or do we got to keep pushing on forward? I don't know. There's so many different.
Could we go back to the 1980s?
Would that be my first choice if I were able to go back?
Anywhere? Or could we see any event? I mean, could we go back if we wanted and watch the crucifixion? Would we want to watch New York being built in the 1930s?
Oh, yes.
You know, I mean, so many possibilities.
Yes.
And like to be able to travel and not have to worry about, I don't have any place to stay. I don't want to have gasoline. I don't want to have to eat. Here, I would just go through some of these old Art Deco buildings, especially here in downtown LA, and just enjoy everything.
Exactly. Yeah. Overkill. If I paid for the place, I'm going to haunt it. William's definitely coming back. Let's see. Ed Stathis also says, I would if I could fly anywhere in the world, I'd travel, man. Yeah, no, exactly. Okay, another story from this episode. I enjoyed towards the end. You might not have gotten to this point, Dave, but there was a man who called in, and he said this reminded me of an older episode where another family moved into a church, but something totally different happened. Kind of a little worse than this. But a man moved into a church with his family. The dad ended up being like the caretaker of the church. But they lived there. And they saw, or they heard knocking on the door all the time. And you can go up to the little windows on the front doors that still had it's an old church, so they heard all the knocking and stuff like that. He said he went down to there's a youth pastor's office, and he saw this figure standing, leaning against the desk. Okay. He said it crouched down, and it shook its head like no, and then it kind of vanished away. I don't know if that was residual, what was going on there, but just a story he brings up. But then they all of a sudden they had to renovate and bring it up to code. If a family was going to live there needs to be a door going in one way with a close, to be able to open and close. And then on the other side where there was a classroom, an old classroom with desks and chairs and stuff like that, connected to the boys' bedroom, they had to put a door there. And it stirred up all kinds of activity. And he said he would be sitting in bed listening to the radio, and off to the right where the door is to the classroom, all of a sudden it sounds like all the desks are being pushed over and thrown around and everything like that. And he'd go over and look and peek in, and everything looks totally fine. And just one of those stories. I don't know. It was interesting, the way he talked about it. And your typical haunting where things are moving around and stuff and they don't like, but a church. I'm bizarre. I would love to live in something very old, like a church. I would love to come down after dinner, Dave. And even though I might not be praying or nothing like that, I would love to sit in one of those steeple, maybe turn on the steeple. Not a steeple. What's the benches called?
Pews.
Sit in a pew, with some pillows maybe or something like that, and just blast some music. Would that be blasphemy? I don't know. No, I mean, come on. Love is love.
Indeed. And you would have beautiful windows.
Oh yeah.
All the stained glass and everything, the beautiful colors coming in. And, you might even, if they had left the organ, you could be playing that. And
yeah, no, I think that's just kind of cool. I don't know. I'm kind of weird. So, but yeah, go to another one, Dave.
All right. Because the chat is now food chat, which is fine.
I get it.
Welcome, Shakedown. This is a rare treat for a Thursday for us. I'm going to talk about the truck driver out of New Mexico who in the late 70s lived in Redondo Beach, had his girlfriend with him, and they're riding a motorcycle, and they see something crossing the street wearing a cape. And it's not walking, it's moving way faster than it should.
Yes, it's actually moving faster than he was on a motorcycle, right?
He was on a motorcycle.
Yeah. And he started to chase it.
Exactly, which again, I give him props for doing that. And then as the figure turns and looks, it's like a skeleton.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. And then it like darts the other way, and then it like darts another way.
It's and like the Grim Reaper is going.
Totally. And they're going to run him down, it sounds like.
Not a good idea. You're good.
Okay. I didn't know if you froze or I froze.
You froze, but you're good.
Oh, no. So at the very end, there's two other people that show up, a guy and a girl. And it's like the woman grabs the girlfriend's hands and, with such force that for days, the girlfriend's hands are hurting and all this. And it was just really kind of a cool and interesting story.
Yeah, it was a little bizarre at the end there, talking about that couple. And he's like, he asked the couple about, did you see that thing? And they wouldn't answer. They basically just stone cold there. And it's like, oh my God, what's going on there?
Yeah. I'm guessing drugs and alcohol were involved because he was going to the liquor store to buy a case of beer to hang out with his friends.
Exactly. Down on Redondo Beach, man.
Yeah. Totally. 1970s. Good God.
Heck yeah. Okay, so I got another one. This one is interesting to me. This was one of the first stories that called in. It was Michael from California. He goes, this happened in a world event. World event was taking place. He was right out of high school in the Navy. Sent him to radio school. I think what I liked about this story most of all was the WW2 talk. Just talking about the military and World War II. Because again, I'm a Civil War buff. I'm a World War II buff. Biff's a buff, huh? Yeah, Biff's a buff. But I love anything to do with World War II. Probably growing up, my grandfather being a bazooka man and hearing all the stories that he told. But love hearing talk about World War II. But he kept on going on. He was talking about all of that stuff. And he said the event happened on April 1st, which was Easter Sunday. He landed on Okinawa. He was bringing military personnel to the island, which is the oldest island on Hawaii and the most haunted. I always think of Nisa. You remember Nisa, Dave, or no? Oh yeah. Still running that Paranormal Into the Night group, posting every day and all that. Talked to her the other day.
Animal lover, from what I remember.
Oh yeah. Again, we're paranormal brother and sister, me and Nisa. And kind of like Dave. There's Nisa and there's Dave, who kind of, you guys right around the same time, and you've been around ever since.
True. Yes.
Yeah. Anyways. One day he came back, he woke up, it was about 3 a.m. And he smelled this sweet perfume, and a sweet smell. And basically it smelled like his aunt. His aunt's alive, he thinks. He's, but again, he said it's that kind of smell that I remember my grandma used to do this. They back in the day, late 70s, 80s, Avon. I mean, they used to have the powder stuff that they would throw on their bodies after bath, and they'd smell like this, just give you a sweet smell. I don't know, his way of odorizing. I don't know. But anyways, he smells it and just thinks it's really odd and very weird, and smells just like his aunt. So, and he's away, he's doing his military stuff. So he gets a letter from his mother I think he said a couple weeks later or something like that, that his aunt had passed away on Easter Sunday. And the story goes, he says, it's his aunt Melanie, and he finds out. He goes, "Okay, What time did she die on Easter Sunday?" Because he woke up at 3 a.m. He says she died around somewhere in the afternoon. Gave him the exact time, and it coincided exactly. So his aunt passed away, and he got a whiff of his aunt, and she was there in one way or another. And it kind of reminded me of, you could go, well, what's she visiting him for way out there from where she passed away? But I believe others could have had that same experience too. I mean, whether he looked deeper into that or not, I don't know. But I think the reason stuff like that happens is because I always talk about how there's two different energies. There's that soul, and then there's an energy that's just given off and sticks around, so to speak. You know what I mean, Dave? There's a little bit of you that stays behind. That's why you get residual hauntings and stuff like that. Or same type of energy. And I think she passed away. I think, and everybody is connected. I believe everything in the universe is connected. Everything is electricity. They're all strings attaching everywhere. She passes away.
Perhaps to that thing on the far side of the moon that John Lear talks about.
Oh, don't get me into that now again.
Boy, oh boy.
But I think there's a little bit of something when stuff like this happens, that there's an attachment there, and that energy is connected to him because it's his aunt, and he woke up at the right time and smelled a little bit of her as she passed on. So anyways, I don't know. I thought that was a pretty interesting story myself. Dino, I will be traveling through space myself too. Maybe see you there. Yes, Emily. Yeah, I would love to. Oh my God, some infinite possibilities if that's what happens. But there's too many unanswered questions. But go ahead, Dave. You got another one?
Hell yeah, I have another one.
918. Go ahead.
Since you like World War II and the Civil War, we're going to do Civil War reenactments with Frank from Shreveport.
Yes.
That's right. So he's a Civil War relics collector. He's also a reenactor. And one of his friends or colleagues stayed in a house on a Civil War battlefield, and they're going to have Civil War reenacting the next day. But in the middle of the night, this guy dressed up as a Confederate soldier comes into the house and says, and they have an argument about who's doing guard duty.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's your turn. No. It's like, and he's like, I'm not doing guard duty. He goes, no, I'm tired. I'm going to lay down. I'm done with guard duty for tonight. And he lays down next to the guy's daughter on this bed and then dissolves into thin air.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that was cool.
That was pretty cool. Just the fact that, because they're around a battlefield, so that's where they're doing the reenactment, and him and his daughter are staying in this house on that site. Yeah, and it was he says a real. So yeah, no, that was a very cool story. I think. Oh, go ahead.
Also, I wanted to tell that story because one of my friends, Tom, he is from Tennessee, and he loves the Civil War and going to Civil War battlefields. Yeah. And he went with his dad, and they took all these pictures of basically tombstones and stuff like that. And he showed me this image, and you would swear to God there was this guy laying on top of his grave. And it was the most freakiest image. And I wish Tom and I were still friends today to where I could get a copy of that. But it's just like, and he didn't even see it at first. He's all, yeah, this didn't come out so well. Yeah. And I mean, this is back in the maybe late 80s, early 90s. And I'm like, it didn't come out well because you got a freaking ghost laying on top of the grave. And you could see this older guy, gray hair, beard and everything. And it was really freaky.
Wow. Some of the photographs, man. I've had one in my life that was taken of a girl that had cancer. She was a little girl, like 9 years old, and great big mist right behind her, and she was off in the distance in the yard. And it's like, something was there, watching over her, protecting her, helping her heal. I mean, who knows?
And Becca, that was my thought too. Don't you even get next to my daughter.
Right. Exactly.
Or you better dissolve.
Yeah, you better dissolve. Ed says, can ghosts physically move things, pick up things? Because if so, I'm going to live in a library. Listen, Ed, I know you're kind of joking, but yeah, listen, of course, there's been many stories of physically moving things and the energy that they can do things. So poltergeist activity, all kinds of stuff. But there's one I want to maybe end on, or we probably got enough for a couple more. This one's a short one. But there was Tony from Las Vegas, Dave.
Yeah.
1984. He took a nap around midnight. And he woke up. He heard something outside his window.
I think it was rustling.
Yeah, it was he was fluttering.
Fluttering, excuse me. Yes.
Yeah, close enough. The same thing, but fluttering sound he heard, a fluttering sound, and he went outside. He either looked out the window or he went outside. I think he looked out the window first, and he said
he did go out the window first. Then he went to the kitchen for a butcher's knife.
Yes. Okay. But when he looked out the window, he saw a 5-foot body of with a big head, a creature with a big head.
All I thought was head of the family.
Oh my God. Well, that head of the family did not have a 5-foot body, though. It had
true. That's true.
A 4-foot body. No, I mean a foot body and a 5-foot head. Anyways, head of the family. Ooh, a great cheesy movie. Anyways. By the way, movie night tomorrow night, Friday night. I'm going to do movie nights starting up now. Friday nights again, 8:00. I will be posting. So he goes down, gets a butcher knife, and he goes outside, and he sees that whatever this is jumping. He used a different word, but basically jumping from tree to tree, which makes you think of a monkey, but not a monkey. But it was jumping and moving from bushes and trying to, just move around and stuff. And what did he do? He didn't. Oh, he went to go jump behind the tree to look, to catch it. He's basically looking to try to catch it. And when he did, it vanished. So, I mean, I don't know what to make of that, Dave. I mean, it's an interesting story, the way he described the creature. I mean, was that an alien? Was that some kind of
could have been a predator?
Crypted? Could have been well, not 5 foot with a big head. Well, maybe a youngin. I don't know. Yeah. But anyways, that's that. So another one, Dave.
I'd like to do a guy who talked about growing up on the island of Kauai, and you're not supposed to whistle for ghosts because they'll show up, and that ain't good.
Yeah.
So they basically ditched one of the cousins because they were going out wreaking havoc. They were teenagers, and they got into this Jeep, and they left this one cousin just kind of behind.
Yeah.
And when they, drove about a mile away or whatever, and then they're kind of like, okay, joke's over. The driver of the Jeep was kind of like acting different. Like, no, we'll just hang out here a little bit more. And didn't want to go back. And the other people were all like, we're going to go back now. And we're kind of, bigger than you are. So you better get this Jeep in gear.
Did you mention that whistling is something that on the island, it's they don't really want you doing it because you're basically taunting the spirits.
Right.
You're calling out the spirits, but yeah.
So they go over to the cousin, and the cousin is like sitting down, and he can't stand up. He's being held down by a spirit. And that was kind of scary. They finally was able to get him back into the Jeep rather. And the grandmother, though, says that a spirit had attached itself to him, and he said that the spirit still haunts him to this day.
Yes. Yes.
So don't whistle for ghosts.
Yeah. I love when Art Bell said, "How did you whistle? What did you?" He goes, "He just started going, hey boy," like you're whistling for a dog, and Art's like, "Oh, okay. I thought it was a little bit different than that." How about the other one that was right after that one? I do believe where I put next to this one, boring. I don't even know how I'm going to read it, but the man calls in and he goes, "Okay, I got a ghost story for you." Okay, so the front doorbell has kind of like this short in it.
Oh,
I know. I don't know why I'm even doing it.
it's awful.
Because it's so bad. It's well, no, it's just bad.
It's bad.
He goes, "There's a short in it." So my dad goes and he get the speaker in the kitchen where the doorbell rings. It's shortening and stuff like that too. So he unhooked it all.
Wires hanging down.
Yeah, wires hanging out, it's unhooked and all that. So, but one night he goes and the doorbell starts ringing, and Arpa goes, "Oh, okay." And the guy goes, "But it's not wired." And then that's the story. I told you it was bad.
It was. It was almost.
Story.
It was almost as. I wouldn't say it's bad, but I remember the one where the ghost said, "Watch your six, boy."
Oh, you know what? We didn't even say that. Do we got time for that one?
Yeah, I think we can sneak that in real quick. Basically,
that was a good one.
All right, this guy's flying the solo plane, and he's just cruising around, and then he hears this voice with him, and he's alone. It says, "Watch your six, boy," and so he turns.
Set up the scene real quick. He's listening to like 1940s music in the cockpit. Yes. He's trying to get his hours in, so he's just basically cruising. He's got 1940s music going on, in the cockpit, and then Dave, he hears this voice,
and he sees this basically green, glowing like object coming in at him.
Yeah, watch your six, boy. Behind you.
And he can't. He tries to move the yoke, and it's not moving, and he's just going to basically be swallowed up by this thing, and it moves to the side.
You know why the yoke didn't move though, Dave? Because he didn't use spam.
So it goes up to 3 o'clock.
What's the spray you put on that makes it not stick? Is that spam?
No, it's just Pam.
Spam
is canned meat.
Spam is canned meat, but Pam.
Oh boy, we're lucky we didn't do this on Sunday. All our listeners would be gone.
It's the spray butter, right? But that's why the yolk didn't move.
All right.
Okay, go ahead, Dave.
Oh God. So 3 o'clock, it cruises over, and he looks over. It's this old Pan Am jet, and
big plane.
Yeah, and it's a Pan Am Continental. And the pilot, this is the part I didn't like. Is all, hey, what's going on?
He waves, yeah. Hey, give me a wave! I want that wave! Yeah.
And then
vanished, yeah.
Just vanished, and he did some research, and a plane like that had crashed.
Oh my! Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did do some research, and I mean, yeah, I don't know what book he found on the planes crashing, but yeah, I guess within that area there was a plane crash, and I guess the pilot's still flying around looking for waves, Dave.
He is.
An intelligent pilot still cruising around, high altitude, low altitude, really. Watch your six, boy. Harry Scott, what's going on? Hi, Boy Donuts, about to be closed down. I'm not commenting on the whole conversation, says okay. Okay. So, good mix of shows tonight for you guys. It's a little mixed bag. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. And me and Dave will be back on Sunday again. Ding dong.
It's 6:30.
The witch is dead. Dave's got everything timed. Dino, I'm out of here.
Good night, America.
Good night, America. Okay, so much love to everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And
rest in peace, Cowfart.
Yes, rest in peace, Cowfart. And hope to see you again, Barry. And we will see you. I'll see you Saturday. because I will be doing a stream Saturday, and me and Dave will see you Sunday for Colombo.
Yeah, Colombo, any old port in the storm.
Yeah, can't wait. So with that said,